The chest seal is your #1 go-to product if there's a puncture or penetration injury within the torso. But what happens if you don't have a chest seal? I'm going to show you guys how to do an improvised or makeshift chest seal using everyday common products you'd find anywhere. I've laid out a few examples here to get your wheels turning, thinking outside the box on different pieces of plastic and things like that you can use. I am going to use the wrapper of the gloves I'm wearing right now, and I'm using this as an example for 2 reasons. #1 is, again, to get your wheels turning, thinking outside the box. I have got my gloves. I can use the wrapper for those gloves to make an improvised chest seal. I already have what I need. And #2 is I see a lot out there that there are certain parameters that a makeshift chest seal has to be, like 5 inches by 5 inches, and that's great. The more coverage, the better. But I don't want to scare you away from using something smaller if, in fact, it still works. And by still works, I mean it has to overlap the wound area at least by about 1.5 inches, because you want to make sure this thing isn't leaking or anything like that. So in this case, though it's a lot smaller than a 5x5, this is going to work just fine. So the way you make a improvised chest seal is you're going to tape this piece of plastic on all 4 sides. Now again, I'm using duct tape for a reason, and that is just to keep your wheels turning, thinking outside the box. I don't have medical tape. What should I do? Use duct tape. If it's sticky, it'll work. So I'm going around and I'm taping all 4 sides of this. I want to make sure I have good coverage on the plastic itself to make sure this adheres really well to that. I'm also doing this kind of sloppily, and the reason I'm doing that, it's very intentional, is to drive home the point that it doesn't have to be pretty, it just has to work. Because a lot of times in different videos and things like that, I see people making the perfect little chest seal or the perfect little this and that. And then sometimes you guys get intimidated, like, oh man, this doesn't look perfect, doesn't look beautiful, is it gonna work? Yes, it absolutely will. As long as you get the basics down, it will work just fine. Doesn't have to be pretty, just has to work. So I've got good coverage all 4 sides of my plastic here. Just like a regular chest seal, I'm going to center it over the wound, and then I'm going to go around all 4 sides, making sure this thing is nice and stuck down to the patient, making sure no air gets in here, because that's the whole point of this, right? A chest seal, whether it's improvised or a regular one, it's preventing air to enter the chest space. Okay, so get that nice and stuck down, and it's really that easy. Last thing to keep in mind is when you're treating a puncture or penetration wound to the torso, make sure if there's one, there might be more wounds. So check your patient 360 degrees, top to bottom, side to side, neck to navel. And if you find another one, rinse, repeat, same process, same thing, no problem.